Hello everybody, this is Danny and Wanda from deep South Homestead, doing our Friday night chat. A little bit about our life after we met, and the homestead. I want to bring the homestead into it just a little bit too. The homestead at that time had been sitting vacant for 2 years, but when Wanda and I got married, there was nothing here other than just the house and the land and the barn. There were no animals, no gardens. Everything had growed up other than where I kept the yard mowed. I came out every so often and mowed the yard, but the property had basically growed up. And Wanda and I, for the first 6 months, we really didn't do a lot.
We sat around on the porch.
Well, I had come back to the house here and started living here again because I had taken on a big cabinet job for a lady, and I needed my shop to build these cabinets, so I'd come back out here and started living at the house again to do this cabinet job when I met Wanda, and we
just got to know each other.
Yeah, we just basically we did what the Bible said. The Bible said when a man married a woman, in the Hebraic times, back then, he was to spend the first year getting his place ready, getting to know his wife, and building whatever they needed built, planting a vineyard and stuff like that. I mean, that's actually in the Old Testament and the Bible. If you want to, look it up, it's actually there.
So that's what we did the first few months, is talk about what we wanted this place to look like and what kind of goals. And he was actually working when we met, but he messed his neck and back up some at that point. And within a couple of months, he wasn't working anymore, and we had to stop and rethink because I was going to college. I came from living in a city. I lived in a college town, and at 50 years old, I decided to go back to school. I went to college, and when I met him, I was 1 year into a 2-year degree, and I came out here with the thought, to go ahead and finish, and I did. I went on, and I didn't get my diploma, but I did get most of the way through. I stopped at the last semester, I think.
Yeah,
and
you have part of a
I
semester
think I got part
to
of
go.
the semester to go, and his health was bad, so I still have that to finish. But I lived in a college town. My job before him, I was really, really stressed. I had been by myself for 5 years, but there was a lot of tension there. There was a lot of things going on, and I was my health was down. I was anemic. I'd lost a lot of weight. When I met him, I was skin and bones.
Yeah. And
I didn't eat. Living in an apartment, I ran to the Burger King, grabbed a dollar burger, and that was supper. Breakfast was a cup of coffee, and I was out the door. And I studied because I didn't have anything else to do. I studied daylight till dark, and I made straight A's on those.
A's, yeah,
I was
just about.
If it wasn't an A, it was the borderline. It was a high B on like 4 or 5 points being an A, and the teachers wouldn't give it to me. Okay, and so I was stressed, but I was living a simple life as far as for me, because I came from an extremely stressful situation. So it had calmed down a lot. But when I met Danny and came out here, he started making me eat. And I had 3 good meals a day. We had breakfast was either oatmeal or eggs and grits and bacon and, whatever I wanted. And lunch was always veggies and things, and supper was veggies. And I was just living it up because I loved it. And so we started talking about what we wanted to do with the place to make money. And we had the goals of trying to, at first, to sell vegetables.
Yeah.
Then we talked about animals. We went from there. We had people asked him. He taught survival years ago, and we were in town one day, and somebody asked him, was he a prepper?
I didn't actually look at myself as being a prepper because everybody. My name is just out there. People in town would stop me and start asking me questions. Danny, what do we do about, I'm in the herd. What do I do? And to hear those phrases coming from a younger generation, first of all, I was like, how do you know me? Because I don't know you. And he goes, dude, everybody knows you. And that that kind of concerned me because it was out there about me, and of course I would give the advice. You know what I would, I'd tell them. I said, you need to get out of the herd as fast as possible. And because it shocked me that he knew what the term herd meant,
and Danny did know what herd meant and explained herd because I'd never heard it.
She had never heard of it. She was sitting there going, what does it mean? I said, well, to be in the herd means to live inside a suburban area or inside a city. That means you're in a herd. You're in a group that is a controlled environment that you're not going to probably be able to get out of if crap hits the fan, so to speak, is the way it goes. And my advice to those people was always get out of the herd as fast as possible and get yourself into a rural area where you have some control. And it just shocked me, coming from young people in town, catching me and asking me, especially people I had no clue who they were. And that got Wanda and I to thinking. We was like, well, maybe we need to start the farm back.
Then we had one guy say, you guys are too old for preppers because preppers are usually 20-something, 30-something.
The yippies, he called them yippies. He said, you don't look like a yippie. And I told him, I said, well, I come from the 60s. I probably was a hippie, but not a yippie. So
we had a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
So we decided to just start the permaculture. And then we found out about hugelkultur, so we added it. We've added a few animals. We've had quite a bunch of chickens at different times.
And then we started. We got the idea to start up our farm and we named it Bluebird Farm because we have a lot of bluebirds here. We use them as part of permaculture to control the insects here. And that's where we got the name Bluebird Farm from, and we kept that name for what, 2 years, I guess?
Until we started the YouTube.
Until we started a YouTube channel.
And we didn't really want to be Bluebird Farm because we saw everybody was a homestead, and our whole purpose of the channel was to show people what happens in the Deep South. So Danny decided Deep South Homestead because of us being in the Deep South. So, but that's just a little bit about how we came to,
our existence came about as far as a married couple, how we got where we're at.
Yeah.
A little bit about how we come up with our name. First Bluebird Farm, and then switched over to Deep South Homestead because of the homesteading side of it. And we do the YouTube channel strictly to teach and to be able to teach people the old ways. Like, I'm trying to remember the Bible verse. I think it's Jeremiah. I used to have most of the Bible memorized. Jeremiah 6:16. When speaking to the nation of Israel, I believe it was, the prophet told them, it says, to return to the old paths, wherein are the good ways. And of course, the next verse, I think, if I remember correctly, stated that Israel did not. Of course, and then they paid the consequences later on in the verses. But that's something that has always stuck out in my mind. To return to the old paths, wherein are the good ways. And the modern technology today, there's nothing wrong with technology. There's nothing wrong with modernism. Don't get me wrong about that. I mean, I love electricity. I love having a tractor to drive and all this kind of stuff. A vehicle to go to town in, air conditioning, stuff like that. I love that stuff. Money, I like all that. But the bottom line is, our forefathers did not have these conveniences.
And they survived really well.
And they probably were at a lot more peace than we are today. They probably were.
They did work hard, because being on a homestead is work.
It's work.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Daylight till dark. Yes, we do get to sit around and look at the computer. We get to do things, but we spend several hours a day.
You probably spend 6.
Taking care of animals.
Good 6 hours a day working on the farm right now until things start kicking in a lot more.
Yeah, and then we'll be canning and everything, and it'll be more like 10 and 12 hours
10 and 12 hours a day, yeah.
And one thing about it, we never run out of topics here to put out videos, so you don't have to worry about that. We probably could do 2 videos a day and never slack up. We could do 2 a day and never slack up if we just had the time to edit and upload. That's our biggest issues here. We don't have time.
There's probably 20 videos already on our computer sitting in there that we don't have the time. A lot of them have already been edited, but it's an uploading issue for us because we live
way out in the sticks.
We live in the sticks, singular, not plural, not sticks. We live in a stick.
Yeah.
And we still are on the old hardwire system. We don't have fiber optic, none of that kind of stuff. And for us to upload one of these videos that we put out, like this video we're making today, will probably take, what, 8 to 10 hours?
At least. It's according to how long it is. If it's 12 to 15 minutes, 10 to 12 hours.
10 to 12 hours. If we go over 15 minutes, it usually takes 10 to 12 hours to upload one of these videos. And that's the only reason that we're not putting out more content right now than we are.
And
we need to move on to the next phase here. We wanted, first of all, we got some letters here.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted Wanda, she wanted to mention this. I think this is the coolest thing in the world.
This is awesome. African-bound girl designed this letter. And if you don't recognize it, it's our barn.
It is the front of the Homestead barn.
And I just think it's awesome.
That's awesome that she did that.
And if I had her close, I would have her designing all kinds, because I love artistic people and I can't draw.
Yeah.
And then these came today.
Yeah, let's...
I believe in. I-N-N.
Yeah, I believe in.
Did these. She crocheted these and sent these to us. And I want to say I really appreciate it.
Yes.
I do know how to crochet. But it's been a long time and I'm not... This little thread is like one of my favorites for somebody else to do.
Yeah. Those things are lovely. They'd be beautiful in the Bible as our markers and
yes,
stuff.
And I do appreciate these.
Yes.
So I believe in an African-bound girl. Know you too. That's awesome.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
And not only them, but there's been
Oh,
others.
there's tons of
I
other
get
stuff.
letters.
We're getting letters constantly, and that's
And
something that we've
I'm
not been
trying
used to.
really hard to answer and talk to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 or 3 different ladies that I've really come to connect with on a personal level, and they know who they are.
Yeah.
And they're really special. They've done a lot for us. Just a friendship. That has been a lot.
That's been the biggest thing. People actually are calling us and talking to us on the phone. That's awesome. And we have some people who are talking about coming by visiting who doesn't live that far away. And there's one that we're going to be going and visiting. I'm going to be setting up a transit, doing some shooting on some shooting their property for them and all, because they don't live that far away. We just had no idea that there were people that close to us that was actually checking in on us there.
So we are very appreciative of all that.
Yeah. We've got the frugal family meal coming up here.
Yeah, it's Friday night, so this time is going to be a very special treat. It's going to be April Fool's, from what I've heard. So it's going to be really special, and Doug and Stacy's Homestead.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you watch Doug and Stacy. They've been doing their channel probably about a year and a half now, I think, or a little longer.
Maybe a little longer than that, yeah.
But they have some really cool stuff. I've been kind of doing a marathon of Doug and Stacy some. Y'all check Doug and Stacy out on Friday night. I think they'll probably release sometime Friday or Friday night. And see what they've done for a frugal family meal, even though it's April Fool's.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
It should be fun. I think it will be. Yeah.
Going on. If I miss Danny this week, he is over on the back hill looking at the potatoes. He looks out the window.
Man, those potatoes are just blowing my mind. Them things the other day were like 16 inches tall, and I looked out to the window today after all this rain we had last night. It looks like they're 2 foot tall. I mean, I'm freaking out because I have never grown potatoes that have grown like they're growing this year. These things are just beautiful. I mean, they're just awesome.
And we've got corn that's up
yeah,
like
we've got
this.
field corn and sweet corn up.
Green beans is up about
all
like
the green
this.
beans are up. The English peas are blooming.
Yes.
We're
going to do a video.
Yeah, we're going to do a walkthrough here.
About maybe Tuesday, sometime next week.
Sometime
we should
next
have a
week.
good update because everything's looking really great.
Yeah.
And another thing, we're going to have a crazy animal. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
we're
trying to put together a crazy animal video. I mean, because we got some weird things that we see animals do,
and we are trying. You try to capture a wild animal when you want it to perform.
When you want it to perform, and you have no control over it. I mean, you try to do that. That's an unusual
and
thing.
we did get it. It was awesome.
We got some of it. Yeah, we got some.
We got a couple of them that were pretty good. So we're going to try to put a little fun video Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll happen, but we're just going to try. We're so bombarded with everything right now, and my health being like it is, I can't get out and I can't do anything, and that's really irritating the fire out of me. Of course, we're going to be continuing on the porch time. You know, we're going to be continuing on with the. We're going to start doing a little bit more about survival. You know, I'm going to start bringing in a few more things on that. I just feel like it's necessary because I feel like I've got a burden in my heart that we're nearing a completion point of some kind in this country. I'm not sure what it is.
But it could be a turning point.
It could be a turning point of some kind. I'm not sure.
A change, maybe, might be the better way.
The Lord has just laid some stuff on my heart, and I feel like I just need to go with it. If that's what He tells me to do, I feel like I need to do it.
If there's something we ever say that would help somebody to survive another minute, and we're not, you know, we're not talking doomsday. We're just talking about simple living.
Just simple living. The things that I'm going to be talking about are going to be things for long-term survival. It's not going to be these 1 week or 2 week things. What the things I'm going to be telling you?
Bug out bags and things.
I mean, everybody talks about.
This is more about gardening and how to do that.
Just how to live. We're going to be doing some things about, you know, water, saving water, how to store water, you know, how to get water. The 3 laws, you know, I was telling Wanda about today. I mean, when I taught survival, there are 3 laws in survival.
He's going to go into
I'm going to go into all that on my porch time. And we love all y'all. Thank you for your prayers and for your support.
And Danny is getting better.
I am getting better.
He can't pick anything up, but he's getting better. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts.
Yes. Thank y'all so much from Deep South Homestead.